Hello guys, welcome to Players Guild. My name is Loki and today we have our first episode of Theory Crafting for Mercenaries, the brand new Hearthstone game mode. So if you haven't seen yet, Blizzard has published a guide about Mercenaries. Make sure to go and watch it. It's a short video that's going to show you more or less of what you can do PvE and PvP and how you can progress your village. Or that you actually can progress your village, and gives you a bit more of insight on what's going to be happening with your mercenaries. But today I'm still excited for the game, and this is the build I have been working the longest on. So this is my fire composition, my fire team. I think this is going to be an amazing team both for PvP and PvE. So this will be the first team I'm going to be building for sure as soon as I can get some coins for all the characters here. And what are those characters? Well, I'm going to go one by one on my choices and explain why given equipment and what I'm expecting to do with them. I'm not going to be going in depth over the abilities. Again, if you haven't seen it yet, we do have 6 videos going over all of the collectible mercenaries that are going to be available at the launch. And when we're going to have new heroes data mined or announced, I'm going to be going over those as well and see how they can fit in PvP or PvE meta. So this build I think is mostly going to be used for PvP, so I'm going to start with the PvP and then I will go over the PvE version of the build, which is going to have some small changes, not an awful lot, but some small changes, so I'll talk over those as well. So without further ado, our first mercenary, you can't have a fire composition without having a fire lord in it. So Ragnaros the Fire Lord is going to be the centerpiece of the whole strategy, and the equipment for him is going to be Blazing Rune. So Blazing Rune is an amazing equipment that just gives Ragnaros plus 3 fire damage if you upgrade it to maximum. Even though Ragnaros has a very low life total, he does have a couple of abilities that important for this particular build. He has an ability that has 5 speed, which means he will be enabling another one of our characters. I'm going to go over that in a second. But Ragnaros is the sole reason I looked at the fire composition and at how much damage it can do. Beside that, Ragnaros has a decent die insect, which is not going to be great in PvP, but it's there if you want to. And then there's also Meteor, which does some additional splash damage, so if you don't need to proc any other of your abilities, you might want to go for Meteor. So our second character at the roster is going to be, of course, a fire character. So those are the characters for the front row, and our second character is Antonitas. And with Antonitas, I actually did spend a good amount of time calculating, is Searing Pendant better or the staff that he has that increases fireball damage? And I'm going to pull in my numbers here, because yeah, I have a whole notebook that I run the numbers through. And so it ends up that if we are looking just on the base of having the Searing Pendant or the staff, they actually do the same amount of damage. They both increase the damage, obviously, but they do the same amount of damage. So on 3 cycles of normal Fireball Storm versus 2 cycles of Searing Fireball Storm, they're going to do 144 damage, assuming you have 2 fire abilities before the storm. But if we calculate in Ragnaros into the equation, as Searing Pendant does a total of 180 damage per cycle, so 2 uses of Fireball Storm, where Staff only does 171. And I'm talking in hundreds in the damage here, and we're talking over 6 turns, so it's not that much of a difference. So if you can't get a Searing Pendant and you just have the staff is perfectly fine, because the difference a turn to turn is going to be really, really small. And then if you are using actually Fireball, the staff might be better, but in this version I'm trying to go for a burst of damage and as wide damage as possible, as you're going to see. So Searing Pendant is going to be better because it lets me do those Fireball Storms, more powerfully. They're going to be just wiping my opponent's board, and that's where I was coming from with this. And our next mercenary, when it wants to work for me, is Baron Geddon. Of course, the third fire composition must have. So Baron Geddon is ridiculous. His Inferno is amazing damage. Inferno is 6 speed, that's why it's important that Ragnaros has a 5 speed ability, because Inferno does just 8 damage, or 11 if you have Ragnaros. But with Fire Combo it does that 8 damage again, and it's a separate instance of damage, which means that the fire damage that Ragnaros is giving is going to increase that as well, so the fire damage is doubled up on the abilities, on the Inferno ability. And on top of that, we're going Mark of Conflagration, which is increasing the fire combo damage even further. So we're going base is 16 with fire combo, with Ragnaros it's 22, and then Conflagration gives additional 5 damage, so it's 27 damage. And we can do this turn 1 because Inferno has no cooldown. So you go Ragnaros, Baron Geddon, 27 damage to the whole board. That's a third of the life of your opponents. And then you follow up with next turn going Ragnaros with his basic ability, Inferno, Fireball Storm, and your opponent is wiped clean. You can go for Flame Strike, but the Fireball Storm is just going to be ridiculous. Sorry, first you go First Strike, then turn 3 you go Fireball Storm, and then you just wipe their team if they haven't managed to get back. So the plan is essentially by turn 3 you wipe their team, and then they get 3 brand new mercenaries. If you can wipe their team without using Fireball Storm, all the better for you, because then they get a brand new team on board, and then you wipe them with Fireball Storm. Then Fireball Storm is going to be dealing 90 damage per activation, which is 27 damage that you deal, plus some small damage from Ragnaros, plus that 90 damage from Fireball Storm should be enough to wipe a good portion of their team. At least 2 mercenaries should go down with that. So that's a basic strategy. If that fails, if they're going to pick either your Ragnaros or your Baron Geddon, which are the 2 most important characters in here, Antonitas is not that important, then we are going to start unveiling our back row. And I'm going to start with Diablo. So Diablo is a very strong character, and yes, this is my preferred portrait for Diablo. For others, I'm using the basic portraits, but Diablo, I do want this one. It's a very specific hero. He has 3 6-speed abilities, which means he can't proc the fire combo on Baron Geddon, which is a bit unfortunate, but his Apocalypse makes all enemies take critical damage for the turn. So if you are lucky with this one, or if Antonitas survived, so then you can do Flame Strike, or you can go for Die Insects or things like that. That's how I'm planning this. So after Baron Geddon dies, which is most likely going to be the first target, we bring out Diablo, we go Apocalypse, give everything weakness, critical weakness, then we deal some stupid damage. Magma Horn increases the damage that we do initially. Then Flame Strike is going to do huge damage, and then Die Insects should wipe the rest of the team, because all of them are still going to be taking critical damage. So that's the second combo I have in the back, if they manage to wipe one of the heroes. If they manage to wipe Ragnaros instead of Baron Geddon, then it's going to be a bit more tricky. And then I'm not sure I would be going for Diablo, because Diablo needs some additional damage. We do need that fire damage, which increases Inferno's damage. On the other hand, they get rid of Ragnaros, they reduce a lot of damage from Baron Geddon, the 6 damage. So if you're facing against this, Ragnaros is your primary target, not Baron Geddon, even though Baron Geddon does more damage if you are on a single target composition. If you're on AoE, you just try to outspeed the fire, which I don't think is possible. In Mirror, I think it's going to be a coin toss. Who's going to be the first one to actually resolve their Inferno and deal more damage? And the last 2 characters, we have There we go. And this is a surprise. Tyrion Fordring. So, reason why I went with Tyrion is because he can, every other turn, he can give Divine Shield to one of your characters. So if they're going to go for your Baron Geddon in the end, or Antonitas, or one of those that they feel threatened by because they might have mostly Protector, Tyrion is there to give Divine Shield to one of your other characters against a single target compositions. If they have a single target, you go in Tyrion and you protect. Then Tyrion gets bigger, then you attack with Tyrion, or you just, for one turn you do something else with Tyrion, and then you go for Blessing of the Kings again, and you keep on giving that Divine Shield, making sure your characters survive. He's there just for that. He's an amazing character that has a lot of value in the fact that he can make others survive very, very easily. And that he gets +4/+4 every time you use Blessing of Kings is also going to be coming in because he does attack. So he's an additional support. If it's not a situation where you want to go with Diablo in because you feel that their single target is too fast for you, then you can go with Tyrion to protect. And the final character, if you've probably seen, if you've already watched the videos, you know what character I'm most in love with, and that is indeed going to be Lich King. Lich King is amazing if you are playing against any carefully created combos. If you see that they have combo that is outpowering your fire, which I don't think is going to be happening, but if it ends up that he's a better opener than trying to open with combo, which I don't think that's going to be the case. He's just a good character to fall back on. If they leave your Tyrion alive after you keep on wiping them with the fire composition that you still have, then you have Lich King and Tyrion. Then this is going to be very, very dangerous composition because Lich King can get taunted. If you can give it Divine Shield, it's going to be ridiculous. And then you have Frostbite. Frostbite is very slow attack, but you can Frostbite your opponent, and with Frostborn you slow the neighbors as well. So you keep on slowing them into oblivion, and at some point Frostbite is going to act first. And Tyrion and Lich King can essentially take apart their team, because Tyrion keeps on giving stats to Lich King, and Blessing of Kings is going to act before Frostbite, and you can use Frostbite every turn, and Blessing of Kings every other turn for the +8/+8. So Lich King with that slow, with permanent slow. So important thing to remember is Frostbite gives permanent slow. It's not just their next attack, it's that ability that they use is permanently slowed, and Frostmourne makes it hit 3 targets, even though you deal damage only to 1. So you always want to be targeting the middle character. So this is my composition. As I mentioned, this is composition for PvP. I don't think Lich King is going to be that amazing in this composition on PvE because the front row will just be able to wipe the board within 2-3 turns. I don't think they're going to be going that big. Even on Heroics, I think they're not going to go that tall that Antonitas, Baron Geddon, and Ragnaros won't be able to wipe them in 2-3 turns. I might be wrong. I don't think I'm wrong, but this might be a good composition to level up your back row. But if we are talking about a PvE composition, like for high level, level 30 PvE heroics, then the small changes that would happen. There we go. The changes that happen is we don't have Tyrion and we don't have Lich King. As much as they're good and they're good together, I wanted to keep more of the fire theme. And I wanted to do more of a punish against AoE, because I know that there's going to be some characters that do forced AoE on rotation, and that's where Tavish comes in. Alexstrasza here is for a bit different reason. So I did sneak a bit on the PvE, and Alexstrasza has a treasure she can find that is going to give all of your characters fire damage. Which means you can have Ragnaros, Alexstrasza, and then you can Baron Geddon on the AoE even higher. And she has heal, that in PvE situations might be more useful than in PvP. And that's why the Alexstrasza's Brooch is the equipment. It increases the damage or healing done by the Dragon's Breath by up to 8, which is going to be really, really useful. Mostly, as I mentioned, in those PvE situations where they're going to be targeting one of your characters because they have advantage there. So I think bringing Alexstrasza here is going to be a good choice. Dragon's Breath is not going. Dragon's Breath is going to be the good one. And Gambit as well. She also has Gambit. That's going to be useful. And Tavish. So someone mentioned in one of the comments that Tavish is a punishment for AoE. And I think there is a good amount of AoE in PvE. There's going to be a good amount of AoE or of AI that's going to be attacking Tavish because they have advantage, because they are red. So if I'm going to set it up that Tavish is my only green character, they're going to be attacking him. And if I'm going to be doing the Flame Trap with Ragnaros fire damage, and that's all we really need. Rigged wiring is to make sure Tavish survives long enough and that the traps last longer. If they don't deal damage to Tavish, that's fine. I'm just going to set another trap and then I'm going to keep on shooting with Tavish if they don't proc any of the traps. And it gives him more health. So this is my take on the fire composition. I'm in love. I do hope that I'm going to pull Baron Geddon, Ragnaros and Antonitas early on. I know I will be getting Diablo because I simped, I bought, I pre-ordered. Both Lich King and Diablo are going to be available. And yes, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and let me know what do you think about this fire composition. How would you run the fire composition? What would you change? Would you have more healing? Do you think it's viable in PvP or PvE better? And do you think this is a scary comp as I think it is? Tomorrow there's going to be another composition that I got of someone in the comments. I don't remember off the top of my head who that was, but I know that person will let us know because he's a very common commenter on our videos. What else can I say? Remember to tune in. Next Tuesday, in a week, we are going to be doing live pack opening, tutorial, everything is going to be done live on our channel. So make sure to join in. We're going to be opening 100 packs. It might end up being 130 if I go for the Sylvanas pack as well. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Thank you for joining, and I will see you guys again tomorrow.